Disclaimer. I doesn't claim any of the arts. All the pictures shown belongs to the respective artist and company. If you are original owner and want me to remove the video, I will do it immediately. Just send me an email to inform me. And if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel. Chapter begins, and we see a group of dark figures rush towards the fortress, moving quickly and quietly like ghosts in the night. Evelyn stood ready, her sword out and her stance firm, preparing to face the attackers directly. "Don't let anyone get away," she ordered loudly, her voice echoing through the chaos. "Yes," a group of voices replied as they charged into the battle. Evelyn's face showed shock as she stared at the attackers. The entire 5th team, led by Trainer, had been defeated by these people. "No, this can't be," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There must be some explanation." Her eyes narrowed, a hint of suspicion crossing her face. A chilling feeling washed over her, her gaze filled with fear. Suddenly, a fierce barrage of burning projectiles rained down on them, the force of the explosion sending shock waves through the air. "Captain!" a voice cried out, desperate and filled with panic. Evelyn moved quickly and precisely, deflecting the incoming attacks. She cursed under her breath, her eyes scanning the battlefield for the source of the assault. "It's a trap," she shouted, her voice ringing with urgency. "Everyone, take cover!" A soldier caught in the blast screamed in agony as he was thrown through the air, his body engulfed in flames. Evelyn's face twisted with pain and desperation as she reached out towards the falling soldier. "Theo and the others run to get cover," the captain shouted. "Everyone's here. It's a trap." "We must leave this place quickly," Evelyn said. Theo looked at the situation. "All right, let's head in the opposite direction of the trap." A blue system window popped up. Mind gate open. Cognitive limits have been lifted. Theo's thinking speed and sensory abilities were enhanced. His eyes glowed. Theo quickly calculated and found the best route. His eyes returned to normal. "Evelyn, why are you just standing there?" he shouted. "You must leave here right now. Get a hold of yourself." Theo grabbed Evelyn's hand. She panicked. "What are you doing? There's no time. We must get inside the fortress," Evelyn exclaimed, staring at Theo. As the castle began to collapse, Theo continued to pull Evelyn. "I don't believe we have to go back to that place. It was almost destroyed, and the lives of 21 people depend on you." Theo continued. "If we run outside, we will only be attacked with bombs or ambushed. It's a trap." Theo used his special ability to read the layout. "We must think that we won't be able to survive inside the castle," he explained. "With this ability, we will definitely survive." Theo read through, using his abilities. "There's gunpowder buried on the left and cannonballs on the right, so we must head to the stairs ahead." The group ran through the stairs. Evelyn noticed something. "It's a dead end," she said. The soldiers looked betrayed. "Hey, you told us to trust and follow you," they said. "Theo, what's the plan? We can't even turn back now." The fortress started to collapse. The group looked frightened as they fell with the rubble. Theo watched as a rock fell with Umbra and Hulkus by his side. Theo landed safely on solid ground, surrounded by falling debris. The fires spread rapidly. All the cannonballs had been used up. "This is our revenge for young Master Axion," a soldier declared. "I don't care if he's completely crushed. Just bring back his head," the soldier added. Theo, lying on the ground after the explosion, thought they were all going to die. The group was exhausted. "As expected of you, Theo, you had a plan," they said. "You managed to think of breaking the floor in just a split second," they continued. As the group spoke, the enemy appeared behind them. "What's going on? Why are you guys here?" Theo asked. "Black Skull, how are they here?" Theo was shocked and couldn't understand how the enemy had managed to sneak up on them. Theo looked through the holes in the walls and saw soldiers. He looked down and saw a man chained up. 5th Captain Trainer Isvin. He continued to stare at him. Evelyn was relieved. "Thank goodness you're alive, Trainer," she said. Evelyn looked at Trainer, but this was a shocking sight. "I can't believe the one who did this was Ragnar's intelligence bureau." Her S-chains fell to the ground. Evelyn lowered her head and said, "I guessed it wouldn't be possible to do an ambush like this without someone on the inside. But how can one turn against a family member?" Aaron replied, "This is clearly betrayal." With that, Selford shouted and says, "That's right, we must pay them back." Trainer stopped the other. "Don't even think about it. It's better not to rush into anything," Trainer advised. They had planned all this to catch them from the start. "It will be hard for us to face them with our current numbers," Trainer said. "We should go outside and inform the Black Pillar." trainer suggested. Theo looked down. That's not possible. Seeing that there's no backup from the Black Pillar. This means that the Black Pillar members who were ambushing them were also trapped. That's why I brought us inside the castle. However, there's a chance of winning. Those guys even buried their men underground. They must intend to cover up this incident. So they will definitely come to check our dead bodies once they're sure of their victory and come to confirm it. We can ambush them back while hiding in the ruins and win, Theo explained. Isvan looked at Theo. He's opened the mind gate at such a young age. I've aged. I even gave up in such a situation. I think the new recruits were chosen very well this time, Isvan stated. He jumped up. You're right. The White Dragon Squad can't be the one beaten up. The plan is as you've heard just now. White Dragon Squad, prepare to fight, Isvan commanded. The battlefield was a desolate landscape under a sky slowly turning into dawn. It was a scene of utter destruction. Bodies were scattered everywhere like broken toys amidst the smoldering remains of Fort Blanky. A lone figure, hidden in the shadows of the fallen fortress, moved cautiously through the devastation. His boots crushed broken stones and bones as he stopped beside a soldier who was barely alive. A faint whisper escaped his lips. "Save me!" A desperate plea. The cloaked figure's eyes, cold and menacing, seemed to mock the dying man's words. "Save me!" Another figure, wrapped in a heavy cloak, emerged from the darkness. "Have you found it?" His voice was harsh and cold. "No," the first figure replied, frustration evident in his tone. "We've searched the west and are now searching the east." He paused, suspicion creeping into his voice. "There's also no report from the ambush team." His gaze swept across the battlefield, lingering on the dead bodies, and he wondered, how could there be no body from the White Dragon Squad? "Wait, stop!" the cloaked leader commanded, his voice cutting through the air. "Has anyone seen the White Dragon Squad?" Before anyone could answer, a sudden movement burst from the shadows. It was the White Dragon Squad, launching a surprise attack with swift and deadly precision. A startled cry escaped the cloaked figure's lips as a sword flashed in the pre-dawn light. Evelyn was right behind, her sword moving with precise and lethal grace. The battle erupted. Evelyn kicked an enemy's chest, using him as a step to dodge his attack. With the agility of a dancer, she leaped, her sword poised for a killing blow. "It's an ambush!" the leader roared, his voice echoing across the ruined fortress. "The enemy is the White Dragon Squad. Prepare for battle." Evelyn and Theo fought together seamlessly, their swords a blur of silver death. Theo, empowered by the energy of the Mind Gate, unleashed a storm of ethereal bluish-white blades. Each strike was a warning of impending doom. "I was hoping it wasn't the Intelligence Bureau," Evelyn muttered, her face set in grim determination. "But according to Ragnar's law, those who commit treason must be killed on the spot." She and the leader pressed their attack, a relentless wave of steel. How did they survive those explosions? A voice screamed, raw fear and disbelief mixing in the cry. "Just how?" Another wailed, fear choking his words. Evelyn's sword danced, a blur of motion, deflecting blows and finding its mark. A grunt of pain ripped from the leader's throat as he parried a desperate strike. His eyes narrowed, focused and dangerous. She retaliated with a flurry of precise blows, each strike swift. "The Intelligence Bureau, it's futile to resist." Evelyn's voice cut through the air like a sharp blade, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. "The moment our ambush succeeded," she declared, her voice filled with triumph, "your chances of escape vanished. But if you surrender," offering a glimmer of hope, "we will spare your lives. Everyone, use the secret technique." The leader's command was a desperate last resort. The hooded figures, their faces set with grim determination, focused their remaining strength, preparing to unleash a forbidden power. "Secret techniques?" Theo asked, unfamiliar with the term. A blinding flash of light, a deafening roar, and the air crackled with unleashed energy. Sparks erupted as Theo's sword clashed with the enemy's, a cascade of fiery light. Theo stumbled back, gasping as a backflow explosion shook him. The forbidden techniques that consume one's own energy. Theo's voice was filled with horror. A shockwave ripped through the battlefield, tossing soldiers and debris like toys. The enemy soldiers, their bodies now radiating an eerie red glow, charged with suicidal fervor. Their blood-stained swords were raised, ready to drag their enemies down with them. "Our rookie, retreat!" A dying comrade whispered, his voice barely audible. Theo's eyes, wide with shock and adrenaline, tracked the incoming threat. Theo's face twisted into a sinister, knowing grin. "You dare to do this?" He summoned every ounce of his power, unleashing his ultimate technique, Triple Dragon's Claw. The air tore apart as a series of devastating strikes ripped through the battlefield, leaving trails of shimmering, destructive energy. The mind gate opened. The system notification was almost an afterthought. Theo's body crackled with raw power. His movements blurred, enhanced beyond human limits. He unleashed the Triple Dragon's Claw again, each strike a thunderclap, precise and devastating. Erica could only exclaim as Theo's strikes found their mark. Evelyn leaped with a shock and looked at Theo in amazement. The enemies fell like a toppled tree, their bodies broken with whirlwind speed and focused strikes. How did he counter the backflow explosion so easily? A dying enemy questioned, his voice filled with utter disbelief. "I won't let that boy live," the leader growled, hatred burning in his eyes. The leader's speed was blinding, appearing before Theo in an instant. Selford and Aaron watched, stunned and awed. "Huh, Theo, that punk. Since when was he able to do that?" "You're right, we should try harder," Theo gritted his teeth. "I used the mind gate to boost my power, but I guess it's still too much for me." "Theo, Ragnar, I'll drag you down with me, no matter what." The enemy's eyes burned with fury as he charged. "Wait, a hole is messed up. There's no way he's going to blow himself up," Evelyn shouted over the noise of the fight. God of Tempest technique, Squall. The air around her began to twist and shine. Evelyn reacted fast, calling on her own power. God of Tempest technique, Maelstrom. A swirling mix of green and wind appeared, stopping the explosion of the magic hole. Theo let out a cry, relief filling his voice with a final, earth-shaking blast of energy. Evelyn launched her attack, a combination of skill and desperate strength. The enemy soldier fell, his body broken and lifeless. Theo, exhausted but alive, slumped to the ground, his breath coming in rough gasps. "You've done great, Theo." Evelyn's voice was filled with relief and admiration. Hulkus, Selford, Aaron, and Erica stared, their faces showing a mix of awe and gratitude. As expected, this man, I know, doesn't want to be Lord Theo's top fighter. That's my job. We made it thanks to you. Thank you so much, Theo. Drained and silent, could only manage a weak smile. He reached out his hand. Grip firm and reassuring, helping him to his feet. "Trainer," his voice full of wonder, asked Captain, "you survived too. When did you learn those skills?" A wave of exhausted relief washed over the survivors. They huddled together, sharing a moment of fragile friendship. The trainer's gaze was thoughtful, looking at the sky above, which was starting to brighten. The long, terrifying night finally gave way to a new dawn. And there, amidst the destruction, stood a single shining sword, a silent promise of battles yet to come. Within the grand halls of the Rose Palace, far away from the burned remains of Fort Blanky, a woman fought against invisible restraints. Her face was streaked with tears and spit as she struggled in despair. Ed Trovan, the Sky Dragon, stood above her with an icy expression. He scolded her harshly and struck her across the face. She screamed, calling out for her master, and collapsed to the floor. Ed demanded answers from her about her actions, especially why she had stolen his subordinate. He referred to Evelyn, who had likely killed his lead agent. Holding up a crumpled parchment with an official seal, he revealed her order: kill Ragnar and destroy the White Dragon cavalry. Ed questioned her boldness and asked if she understood the seriousness of her crime in issuing such an unauthorized command. The woman, lying on the floor, spat out defiance. She claimed she acted to protect Trovan's grand plan and accused him of ruining it himself. Her voice rose to a hysterical pitch as she demanded vengeance for Axion's death. She begged Ed to kill Theo Ragnar and those responsible for destroying Axion. Her grief turned into furious rage focused entirely on Ragnar. She screamed that only by killing them all could Axion's soul find peace. The mention of Axion seemed to affect Ed deeply. His face remained unreadable as he leaned down and grabbed her hair roughly. He reminded her of her assigned role and asked if she had forgotten it. Fear replaced the anger in her eyes as Ed spoke with contempt. He blamed her for losing the dragon's sword necessary to their plan and for Axion's death. Declaring her unworthy, he stripped her of the title a daughter of Trovan. The woman trembled as she stared at him, his cold fury reminding her of her father's wrath. Ed turned away from her, dismissing her as useless. He ordered nearby guards to remove her from his sight and ensure all related items or information were destroyed to prevent leak. The woman begged desperately for mercy, promising she would do anything to live. Ed ignored her pleas and walked away as she gasped for salvation among attendants' bodies scattered on the staircase. victims of her earlier rage. Ed seethed internally over his ruined plans caused by Theo Ragnar's interference. His cold resolve hardened as he swore to kill Ragnar himself. Meanwhile, in quieter surroundings at the headquarters of the White-Armored Dragon Cavalry, Theo examined rewards displayed on a holographic interface in his quarters. Among them was a magnificent great sword glowing under the light, a divine relic called Dragon Sword, Strand of Fate. Its details revealed that it was sealed and required unlocking its divine seal for use. Theo murmured its name while reaching for its hilt. As his fingers touched it, dark energy surged violently from the weapon, repelling him and causing it to fall heavily onto the stone floor. Theo flexed his hand, stung by its raw power, acknowledging that it truly deserved its legendary reputation. The energy surrounding the sword felt foreign and fundamentally opposite to the natural aura of the Ragnar clan. It was its polar opposite. As the system indicated, the weapon was unusable until Theo could figure out how to break the divine seal. He remembered that divine relics, legendary artifacts from ancient times, often appeared deceptively simple, even worthless, and wouldn't easily be wielded by just anyone. Unlocking their seals, however, could grant power comparable to mythical heroes, transforming them into truly legendary items. In a previous life, Ed Trovan had successfully broken the seal on this very sword, the Strand of Fate. Reflecting on Trovan's achievement, Theo realized one critical truth. Until the seal was released, the sword was little more than a dangerous but glorified object. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Evelyn stood at the doorway, apologizing for disturbing him late at night. She informed him that Commander Julius Ragnar wished to speak with him and asked if he could spare some time. Commander Julius, looking unusually relaxed. Julius greeted him with a gruff smile and expressed relief that returned alive. His demeanor shifted to seriousness as he steepled his hands and asked directly if Captain Isvin planned to retire, appearing tired but composed. He confirmed Julius's assumption with a sigh, explaining that the losses he suffered, the death of his dragon partner and his leg, made continuing active duty impossible for his aging body. He intended to return home and spend his remaining years honoring fallen comrades. Julius nodded in understanding, acknowledging that Isvan had earned his rest, and no one could deny him that right. Isvan thanked Julius respectfully, but offered one last piece of insight before leaving. Information about Theo Ragnar. Julius leaned forward with interest and said simply, "Tell me." Isvan described Theo's performance in battle and revealed an astonishing fact. Theo's mind gate was already open at such a young age. Julius's eye widened in shock at the mention of mind gate. He speculated aloud about its implications. Could this boy truly transcend human limits? Isvan explained further, noting that Theo's ability seemed unnatural, as though the gate had been forcibly opened through immense struggle or sheer willpower breaking past its natural seals. Using an analogy of a bowl, he described Theo's potential. His capacity for growth had suddenly expanded far beyond what it currently held. It seemed paradoxical yet undeniable. A predatory grin spread across Julius's face as he grasped the significance of Theo's potential. Their mission was clear. They needed to nurture Theo's explosive growth and fill that vast capacity. Isvan concluded his observations as his final contribution as an officer. Later, under the snow-covered expanse of the cavalry's training grounds, Julius approached Theo directly. He commended Theo for his impressive work during the recent operation. Theo humbly deflected the praise, crediting his comrades for their collective success. Julius chuckled at his modesty, calling him a little rascal. But his tone quickly turned serious as he asked about Theo's martial development. Theo initially thought Julius referred to his general combat skills and admitted he felt more confident in battle situations. However, Julius clarified with a sharp gaze toward Theo's sword hand. He wasn't asking about basic fighting ability. He wanted to know what realm of swordsmanship Theo had reached. Caught off guard, Theo confessed his uncertainty. He explained that he had focused on emulating the sword techniques of the Ragnar head family. Julius responded with a non-committal sound, remarking that everyone says that. Then, hefting his massive training sword, Julius shifted his stance slightly, and reality around Theo fractured. The world dissolved into a swirling vortex of crimson energy and jagged floating shards resembling ruby crystals. The air crackled with power. Theo immediately recognized this phenomenon, the demon dragon glass domain. Unlike Osa Ragnar's tranquil, blossom-filled glass domain from the nomination ceremony, this was violent and chaotic. Theo voiced his realization. Was this realm a reflection of its user's martial philosophy? A flicker of understanding sparked in him. Julius confirmed it with a grim nod. This crimson domain represented his demon sword style, a manifestation of raw destruction and untamed willpower. Energy flared around Julius as he settled into a low stance and began demonstrating his martial art. His movements were a blur of controlled fury as his sword carved through the domain with devastating slashes. Each strike radiated pure destructive force, and even the domain itself seemed to roar in harmony with Julius's actions, pulsing with waves of aggressive energy contained only by his will. When the display ended, Julius stood amidst the swirling red energy, his blade still vibrating slightly. He turned to Theo and asked simply, "How was it? How did Theo perceive the martial art of the demon dragon?" Theo answered honestly. The raw power was overwhelming and incredibly destructive. Julius grunted in agreement, explaining that this was the essence of the demon sword style. Straightforward and intuitive, embodying an unyielding will that shattered all obstacles, a path defined by violence, strength, destruction, and even death itself. Having demonstrated his philosophy, Julius shifted focus to Osa Ragnar's swordsmanship, the Lord of Plum Blossom Palace, and asked Theo to recall it. Theo described it as beautiful and serene, vividly remembering its imagery of blooming flowers. Julius acknowledged this and explained that Osa's sword embodied life itself, the journey from seed to bloom, a reflection of life's resilience and indomitable spirit. Even when torn apart or forced to detour, life continued growing like a plum blossom tree. Theo grasped the deeper meaning behind Julius's words. Martial arts weren't just techniques, shaped by their practitioners' interpretations of existence itself. Each style was unique among the nine. Julius smiled faintly and posed a question. Did Theo perceive Oza's life philosophy and Julius's demon philosophy, death and destruction, as fundamentally conflicting? Hesitating, Theo stammered, "Wasn't that the case?" With a sly grin, and stated it wouldn't be instructive or fun if he gave an answer outright. Instead, he materialized a thick leather-bound book glowing faintly with inner light. He explained its significance. It contained records of philosophical debates on swordsmanship between Osa Ragnar and a previous sword dragon. Theo stared at the book in shock as realization dawned. The implications were extraordinary. Spectral plum blossoms drifted through the fading crimson domain as Julius declared something unprecedented. Theo Ragnar was now recognized as the joint successor to both the Demon Dragon and Sword Dragon philosophies. And with that, this chapter ends. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Support this channel by liking this video and subscribing the channel. And if you want me to recap another Manhwa or Manga, write its name in the comments section. And if you want to know that what happened in previous chapters, you can watch them in this channel. Stay tuned for next chapters.